Here we are going to discuss a topic which is not belonging to any syllabus or not intended for examination point of view, but it will provide you a thought, rather I should say a food for thought. So the topic is administration in India, particularly in modern period. So we are starting from Mughal Empire. Why we are considering Mughal emperors? Because in particularly from 15th century onwards, pan-India rule, or rather I should say maximum part of India directly was under control of Mughals. Not necessary always, but in 16th century particularly they dominated, 17th century also, and till 18th century it was nominal but under control of Mughals. Now, how was the arrangement? So in India, administration is a big problem because India is having variety of cultures, variety of languages, and geographical conditions are also different. If you are looking carefully in the Europe, okay, I am not saying England, Germany, I am saying about Europe. Then in Europe also similar conditions are and were there. Languages, they are having different, say dialects are considered as languages, and that's why you check out the nation size on map, you will find that certain nations like Croatia, Albania ancient, old days, like that nations were having very small size. Even in India, you can compare certain districts in India, they are having bigger size than these nations. So this is actually division in Europe. In India, they are falsely talking like that Indians are divided, and we people, Britishers, were talking that we are the united. So it is not. It is only England, or rather I should say UK part, that was united. That was also not fully by mind united, forcefully united. Like Ireland was not ready to go with England or that UK. And today also there are lots of problems from Irish side. Scottish were also having problem, and today also many Scottish believe that they should have a separate nation. So it is not a sign of unity. In UK also, forget of rest of Europe. But in India, these provinces were too much, and therefore to administer them centrally was a great task. Now, Mughals continued the previous one and little bit modified, little bit. Now, at time of Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, they prepared, Mongols prepared worldwide empire. Today also, a single man's empire, biggest empire, that is the Mongol, that is China, Genghis Khan's empire, and not Alexander the Great. Okay, so they were having now little bit experience of controlling huge empire. No doubt this huge empire was degraded, but the degraded parts were also tremendously large. And so Mughals tried to control, various methods they used, but initially they were having not a success. Babur, who coined his term as Mughal, prior to that we were calling them Mongols. So prior to Babur also, Sayyids were ruling over that territory, Mongols, but from Babur onwards we are calling them Mughals. Now these Mughals were not able to administer area properly. So after establishment of empire in India, particularly northern parts of India, Babur died out. and his son Humayun was dethroned within a short period. He reconquered that area, but again he died. And then Akbar is real founder, we can say, real founder of the Mughal Empire pan-India level. So, but his India was there till North India only. He tried to enter in South, particularly when he conquered the fort Asirgarh, that is near Burhanpur or Burhanpur in Madhya Pradesh. He said that now gates of Deccan are open for me, but that remained open for him only. He attempted a lot, but he was not having much more success in South India. Particularly Nizam Shah, that is we are calling as a Bahamani emperor, a fragment of Bahamani, was fighting with Mughals very greatly, and therefore we are focusing only the conquered part of Mughals, particularly North India. They divided this India into provinces. So ultimately there was no answer to keep entire India united. So fragments were necessary because at that time communication system was not there. Proper communication system was not there. Say, systems were there, but they were not as quick as today. For example, initially the quick system was developed, postal service rather I should say, that was developed by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, but it was for betterment of his own part. Mughals also continued such type of systems, but at that time technology was not good, and therefore in order to get localized rule, they divided that part into province, and then province that was called as Subha, and that Subha was handed over a governor that is called as Subedar. So like that they tried to administer, but every time the biggest problem was there that the Subedar was going to rebel against centralized power. This problem was not solved by centralized power in India. You are aware that in going with ancient Indian history also, various Subha or say what we call provinces rebelled against central power and declared their empire. Say for example, Satvahan Empire is such kind of empire which fragmented out from Maurya Empire and later on developed. Same way Rashtrakuta Empire was also similar kind of empire which fragmented initially out of Chalukya and then spread out almost 2/3 of India. So like that, the fragmentation of this Subha, that was the biggest problem which was continued during Mughal rule also. No doubt, with that is Sher Shah Suri, with Sher Shah's proper administration, he was able to stop rebellion coming out from Bengal territory. He divided, or rather I should say divided, he fragmented Bengal in 3 parts. And 3 rivals were appointed there as Subedar. And that's why Behram Khan was, Sher Shah Suri was able to solve the issue of Bengal rebellion. But such condition was not there. After end of Aurangzeb's rule, what Nizam ul Mulk, that was a Subedar was appointed, governor was appointed, he also decided to follow as much as order we can follow. They were not having mandatory that orders of Mughal Empire must be followed. No. So, this way, pan-India level rule was much more difficult. But when Britishers started developing their empire, they were having a powerful tool, that is high-class technology at that time. Always don't compare with today's technology, but at that time they were having very good powerful technology. Scientific and technological development helped Britishers to very great extent to rule over India. This is actual outcome of science and technology, that Britishers were able to rule over India. But it is something different thing to rule and to administer. Particularly after Renaissance in Europe, they started developing very good administrative systems in Europe. They also experimented their techniques in India. Initially, the situation when Britishers conquered Bengal territory, the situations were something different. They got suddenly Bengal territory in their hand. So, they were having in Bengal territory, Britishers got all of a sudden the power. Then, what situation was there? They accepted that is dual governance. The dual governance means the local rule should be in hands of Nawab. That Nawab means here we can consider again a governor. So local rule was in hands of Nawab. Whatever the punishments or justification system, jurisdiction that was handed, particularly the civil matters, they were handed in hands of Nawab, whereas criminal matters were handed in governor. Now, the governor was obviously now British. Now, again, they decided to establish a Supreme Court. Keep in mind, here we should take something different view. Britishers were now ruling over more area than Britain. Keep in mind, in England, English king was ruling, theoretically. Practically, Parliament was ruling. But what province, what areas they were ruling, that was small. But now they got entire Bengal, that means today's Bangladesh, West Bengal, Orissa, Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, and Seven Sisters part. So this much part was administered by Britishers. Slowly they got rest of India. I am using word got, but actually I should use word conquered. And step by step they develop their ruling thing. The company was ruling over this territory. Company was meant for trade, but now it was interested in ruling. So they started experimentation, and that's why in early days in the ruling system, particularly in the services of company, they were not employing Indians at higher authority. Whereas slowly and steadily, that means somewhere after 1818, obvious thing is that after 1818, because at 1818 Maratha Empire came to end, and 2/3 parts of India were almost there in hands of Britishers. Now, whatever the experimentation was going on in Europe about the power, division of power, delegation, all these experiments they started performing in India. During land revenue system also, they perform experiments. Now keep in mind, those Britishers were coming here. They were of comparatively youngsters or middle-aged people. And after retirement, they were going to England. So they were not, we can say, having 100% experience. We were considering whatever Britishers are telling is perfect, but they were carrying out experiments with us. And that's why you can check out in Bengal territory, they introduced a revenue system that was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, that is called as permanent settlement system, that settled out farmer permanently. See the poorest situation of farmers in in Bengal at that time. The reason is that they were exploited directly by zamindars and indirectly by Britishers. Actually, role of zamindar was prominent in that, but zamindar landlords, they were getting loyal, most of them getting loyal to Britishers at that time, because they were earning out from this system, and the one who was exploited, that was the worker. farmer. In own field, they become landless workers. So this is the credit, we can say, of permanent settlement system. So Britishers were not perfect in administrating services at that time. The revenue they were collecting, that was just injustice. That was not at all good in condition. The revenue they were collecting out for betterment of their company, betterment of their nation, and we were considering this as standard. Continuous famine, drought conditions also having worse impact. Now, their intentions were to carry out trade with India. They changed particularly after 1800 onwards. Why 1800 is important? Because around that period, industrial revolution started there. And then their entire look towards empire was going this way, that we want to sell maximum products manufactured in England. India should be considered as marketplace and earn money from that. Check out today also various companies are having the same aim. Initially they were producing, they were manufacturing in England and they were coming here to sell out. But within 100 years the strategy changed. They realized that in India workers are available at much cheap rate. No more awareness of laws, duties are there, but responsibilities and their rights, they are not that level at that time. Today it is different thing, but at that time it was not there. And therefore, we can exploit India by dual way. How? We can get workers at much cheaper rate and we can sell out their products at higher rate. And that's why, particularly after First World War, Britishers developed their companies, manufacturing unit in India. We can say Indian industrialization developed in this particular phase. Yeah, it's true. But at what level and at what cost? So this is something we had to think. Now, they were administrating, but the administrative ideas were also not perfect. Otherwise, why they should give reform? They means Parliament was imposing out reforms over company after every 20 years. Initially, the reforms were given fast. Then onwards, they said that we are giving you charter to rule over India for 20 years. And we have to renew this charter after every 20 years. So, this is something that Britain, or at that time the people were there, they were trying to exploit India to very, very great extent, effectively from their side. And in return, some of them, they were really good people. Or they pretended that they were really good. For example, Lord Ripon, the Viceroy of India, a liberal kind of man. So they were giving idea in such a manner that we have to protect Indian culture. Orientalism is the concept in Europe at that time. Orient means Eastern nation. Orientalism means the Eastern nation should be ruled by their own thing. But some people, they were evangelists of spreading out European culture over the world, like Lord Macaulay. He introduced education system. This is the most important thing, that Lord Macaulay converted top class people, educated, highly educated people in India to such a mentality that either way you have to think of English people and think in the view of English people and also think in English. That's why I am speaking with you in English language. So this is the real gift of Lord Macaulay onwards. They strategically planned education system in such a way that the white collar people should be enslaved easily. The top class people of the community should get enslaved. And that's why if you are able to observe, ancient or say initial movies, there also you will get what is the reflection of society in that movie. That is to get education, to become lawyer, to become magistrate. Like that, the targets were there. So this is the way Britishers were able to first convert top class people. Maximum resistance was there from top class people. Now they get converted to that side. Secondly, they administered India, particularly after 1857 revolt or freedom struggle, in such a manner that now it was in hands of Parliament. So slowly we are educating Indians for ruling purpose. But yet there was no clear-cut idea in Britishers' mind at that time that how to rule over India. What are the responsibilities of governors, governor general? It was codified, it was written, but still there was no distinct ideas. And because of that, India was getting poorer, it was degraded. In fact, I hope that if we are considering that because of arrival of Britishers, we got several benefits, then actually speaking, we have to think in this way that prior to arrival of Britishers, India was much more developed at that time. Don't compare after conquest of Britishers. But after conquest of Britishers, India was degraded, and the last outcome, they fragmented India into pieces, and then they went giving us freedom, gift of freedom. Nothing was there in our hands at that time. Only we were having very good big amount of loan in our hand. So this is the gift of Britishers. So this is part 1. In part 2, we are discussing much more things about British. Thanks.